do. All right, so I still don't know who to pencil in for the Jets. Let's pencil and let's.
I don't
I
either.
think McCarthy to the Saints.
Well,
I don't think I've specifically said that. I like Mike McCarthy to the Saints.
I hear that. I hear you there. Back to the Jets. If you're the Jets, would you want to hire a first-time head coach once again? Or would you go down the lines of like I'd rather have somebody, we've done the first-time head coach here a few times. Let me do somebody that I feel like knows the job as soon as they get here. It's no feeling out process, right? You do have a team still. I know there might be no quarterback right now, or we'll see where it goes with Aaron Rodgers, but you're still going to have a team where you're going to go, wait, we're kind of ready to win right now. Do we really want the new head coach who's feeling his way out? I think it's an interesting conversation as far as that's concerned.
Now, our tracker that is devoted to the Jets, the portion of it, has both GM and coaching candidates, so I'm skimming this.
Right.
We've got Ron Rivera, Rex Ryan, Jeff Ulbrich. We've got Arthur Smith, Bobby Slowick, Joe Brady, Vance Joseph, Aaron Glenn. We've got Matt Nagy, Brian Griese, Brian Flores, Josh McCown. We've got, and there's more GM candidates here, we've got Steve Spagnuolo. We've also got, and I think that's all of them. So those are all the ones that I see here. And you've got a wide swath of potential candidates. And, yeah, do you want a first-time coach? Do you want a guy who's coached before and maybe it didn't work out? Do you want an older guy? Do you want a younger guy? Rex Ryan kind of looms over this whole thing because they at least have familiarity with Rex Ryan. And when Mike Tannenbaum is the guy who's helping run the search, and he was the GM who worked with Rex, and you fired Tannenbaum, but you're bringing him back to help you find your next GM and coach, I'm not going to be surprised if at the end of the day it's Rex. Rex is awfully confident that he's getting the job, but I think that's just part of his personality. He's confident about everything.
That's it. I think he's kind of trying to talk it into an existence, get the the groundswell of the fans behind him, all of that. I have no feel for the Jets there and all of that. The Saints, I hear you with the McCarthy thing, right? The other name that I do think of is just Joe Brady because he was there previously. You talked about they want to go offense, right? Joe Brady was LSU.
With the Saints, yeah.
Right. He was with the Saints too. So there's a little history, right? You look at a lot of these hirings, and a lot of times there's usually history between a candidate and stuff that brings it to there. That would be one that certainly makes sense from that aspect.
Yeah, because the fact that you've worked with the guy, you know who he is, you know he can be trusted, you understand his character. There have been hours and hours and hours in the building. That is an advantage, similar to the advantage that Tom Brady has talking to Ben Johnson and working Ben Johnson's games. I mean, the more you know someone, the more comfortable you are in making that decision, yes or no, up or down. The devil you know versus the devil you don't know. They know McCarthy. They know Brady. McCarthy was there for 4 or 5 years as an offensive coordinator in New Orleans. So that I think those two guys make the most sense. We haven't talked about the Jaguars yet. And I don't know which way the Jaguars are going to go. Whoever takes that job had better be comfortable working with Trent Baalke or so desperate to be a head coach that they're willing to be the next guy who's left behind as Trent Baalke kind of keeps chugging forward.
Yeah, that's going to be the big thing as we go here. I mean, again, you look at Jacksonville, a little bit like we said with the Jets, there's a lot to like with the roster. You look at some young players, you go, wow, there's a nice little nucleus there. We talked about it the other day. They need improvement on defensive tackle and the O-line. But I know you're not totally sold on Trevor Lawrence, and I understand that. But it's still better than a lot of options that are out there right now. But the Baalke thing, and I think, again, you're seeing that, I think, even Chicago. Any holdover GM with a coach that's got options, that's, I think, going to make them tread water a little bit and go, I don't know. Do I trust that? Right? This guy already failed with somebody before him, and now he wants me, and he survived, and he's obviously got the ear of the owner, and all those things come into play. And I think that's what's going to make it hard in Jacksonville and Chicago, or at least have people do their due diligence and really research whether they're comfortable going there and being a part of that formula.
We haven't talked about the Bears yet. They're another one that is turning over every stone. Nobody really knows what they're doing, where they're leaning. Before the season ended, It was like, hey, just go hire Ben Johnson, keep him in the division, pair him up with Caleb Williams. It would seem like, and I think it was our first pick yesterday when we drafted the most desirable jobs because of the presence of Caleb Williams. Wasn't it the first pick? Was it your first pick?
Yeah, it was.
The Bears?
Yes.
Yeah. So they're in a position where they should be able to attract a high-level coach, a coach with options, just like free agency. You always want to get the person who has options. You don't want to get the last one standing. And the Bears should be able to do it, but there's so many names. There's no clear favorite. There's no clear front runner. I think they like it that way. I got no idea what the Bears are going to do other than I'll be stunned if they don't hire an offensive coach.
Yeah, I would expect that too. I would. And that's where you then get into what the offensive coaches that are out there right now. Ben Johnson, if we're going to say Raiders, then you starting to get into with the Bears. Again, Joe Brady is going to be the name I think you hear as far as young, hot commodity. And then the Liam Cohn conversation there with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Those would certainly be two of the, so-called young whippersnappers that are up and coming that certainly catch my attention when I watch film and watch how the plays are called and stuff like that I go, I'm kind of impressed with what they do on that side of the ball.
I had a conversation recently, and I think I can say this because there's been 7 teams looking for coaches this cycle so far and counting. Who knows what else is going to open up.
Yeah.
And I was asked by someone involved with the process with one of the teams, who would you hire? And my first thought was I wouldn't ask me who I would hire. Because I got no friggin' idea because I'm not close enough to it to know who the best is. But what I said, here's what I would want. I would want someone who has shown he can do it.
Right.
That's what I would want. I would want a guy who has been a head coach and been fired because they're all going to be fired at some point. There's very few former coaches out there who walked away. Or I want a guy from another team who's currently coaching. If I pick the right team at the right time to swoop in and make an offer a year before it falls apart anyway and get that guy to come be my coach. That's why I keep mentioning Kevin O'Connell. Because the thing that Jay Glazer reported, Week 18 Sunday Splash, it wasn't some idle quota-filling bullcrap. There's something there, and if they can't work out a long-term deal, if they can't properly figure out what O'Connell's leverage impact was by losing the last 2 games by a combined score of 58-18, and there's an impasse, you either have him for one more year and he walks away, or you trade him now and you get value. So I'd be looking for either former coach who's available who I can hire right now who showed he could get it done at a high level like Mike McCarthy, or I'd be making a phone call to a team where I think I'm 1 year away from it falling apart. But you know what? If I'm the Bears not knowing who would be out there that I could trade for, I'd lean McCarthy because he's proven he can do it. And wouldn't it be great to bring him back to the NFC North, doing battle with the Packers twice a year, battle with the Vikings twice a year, battle with the Lions twice a year. It'd be a great story, but I think it could also be a great outcome.
No, it could be. The only thing you'll question is, will the fan base just love it and get behind it? And then, of course, offensive sexiness question, right? That's going to be the big thing in that. And that, like, oh, is this really the best thing for our offense and Caleb Williams and all that? That'll be the questions there. But, yes, as far as getting the organization settled and them playing tough, detailed football and all that, yeah, he'd be good for that, certainly. But, man, this is a year where, and you know me, I'm plenty like, well, I can't believe this guy's getting a chance to get hired or whatever. This is a year between Ben Johnson, Liam Cohen, and I forgot to mention Todd Monken here a few times too, where I go, these guys do some things on the offense that your thoughts are really good, but those type of play callers and creativity they bring to the table would make me think a little bit more about the first-timers in this one because I am that impressed with these 3 guys. There's a few coordinators every year where I go, I can't believe he got hired. These 3 would not be of that mold, in my opinion.
We still don't know if they've never been head coaches before, whether they can be the front-of-the-room guy, whether they want to be the front-of-the-room guy. And we've seen with coordinators, especially offensive coordinators, but defensive too, it's about a 50-50 proposition as to whether it works. It's like drafting a first-round quarterback. And you got a lot of money invested in these jobs. You may have to do a 2-3 year buyout if it all falls apart. That's why I would want somebody who's got that cachet, that experience, that ability to walk right through the door and take over. And, again, if I'm the Bears, there is no real front runner there. I'd be taking a long look at McCarthy unless I could get Mike McDaniel or Kyle Shanahan or somebody else that I could get via trade. That's what I would want, somebody who's proven he could do it. I mean, hell, if they could have come up with an agreement on the length of his next contract, he'd still be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. He wasn't fired. Jerry Jones just didn't want to owe him for multiple years of pay if he decides to fire him after next year or the year after. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.